watching Good Morning San Diego.
Welcome back. The suspect in the Colorado Theater massacre will face formal charges today, this morning, in fact, and they are expected to include a dozen first-degree murder counts. Legal analysts believe the case will be dominated by arguments over James Holmes' sanity. Anna Yum, a prosecutor, joins us now with her expert opinion. Thank you so much for being here this morning, Anna.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us what we can expect in about an hour or two when James Holmes goes back into a courtroom.
Well, I think what mostly we can expect is that formal charges are going to be filed against Mr. Holmes. And as you had indicated, he's looking at least 12 counts of first-degree murder. He's going to be looking at several counts of attempted murder in light of the fact that there are at least 58 victims in this case that are surviving. And he's also looking at counts associated with the booby trap department that he left behind. So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, right, and it seems like there are so many different elements in this case, and those are the ones that we're aware of. I'm sure there's a lot of things that the public doesn't know about yet.
Absolutely, and I think the judge has been very careful about trying to limit the pretrial publicity to ensure that he gets a fair trial, his constitutional right to a fair trial. So I think that there's a lot of developments that may arise in the future that we don't even know about at this point.
You talk about a fair trial. I mean, is that really possible? It seems like the public has already convicted this guy. What will happen?
Right. I think that because of the highly publicized nature of this case, I think it's going to be difficult to be in front of a jury that didn't hear about this case, just because it's been so highly publicized. But I do think that the judge is doing what he can do to try to limit the pretrial publicity by establishing that gag order and by indicating that the lawyers and law enforcement cannot essentially talk to the media. So there's only so much you can do with the fact that it's so highly publicized, but I think they're trying to do what they can.
What about some of the evidence being banned from the case, and specifically that notebook that has been in the news the last couple of days?
Yes, the infamous notebook. I think there's a lot of speculation as to what's going on with this notebook. What's going on is that James Holmes allegedly sent a notebook to a treating psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Lynn Fenton. Now, there's speculation as to what's in this report, and part of what's going to happen today is that the defense is trying to get access to that notebook, and they're basically stating the contents in this notebook are privileged due to a psychotherapist patient privilege. The prosecutors, on the other hand, are going to argue, well, we don't even know what's in this notebook yet. The leaks to the media were not credible. And secondly, even if there were contents in the notebook to indicate that he was going to do something, the psychiatrist would have a duty to warn. So there's going to be issues on each side, and I think the notebook is going to be heavily litigated in this case.
Sure, okay. What about the death penalty, especially there in Colorado? Is the prosecutor seeking the death penalty?
Well, the prosecutor, Carol Chambers, had indicated that it might take months before they come to a decision, and I certainly think that she's going to consider that. What's interesting about the state of Colorado is that there's only 3 inmates on death row. And what's even more interesting is that Carol Chambers, the prosecutor, is responsible for putting 2 of the 3 inmates on death row.
Really?
Here in California, there's over 700 inmates on death row. So I think that Colorado does use it sparingly, but based upon the egregious nature of this crime, based upon some of the aggravating factors that she might look into, it certainly is a possibility.
Okay, so by the end of the hearing this morning, what will we know?
Well, by the end of this hearing, we should know what formal charges were filed against him, his plea, whether it's going to be a not guilty by reason of insanity plea, and also that discovery motion that we talked about regarding the notebook. And I think those are some of the things that we're going to find out as a result of today's hearing.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your thoughts this morning, Anna. And of course, we're going to be following the story and updating you live as they happen here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.